For our grade boosting project, we'll actually just be wrapping up the unit that we started back before the school closure, and that was on perspective drawing. Now for this, I want you to choose a much simpler object than we would have chosen if we were in class, so that we can still be able to communicate and ask those questions and keep it a little bit simpler when it comes to the actual practice. So for my example, I'm going to use this picture frame. Now this picture frame is pretty simple. It's basically just two rectangles, and if you can see, it's a little deeper in there. So this got this front depth here, and then it's got a little deeper part. And what you want to do is you want to pick a simple shape that's going to be simple to draw and measure, but has at least two different depths. So this frame part is closer to the camera, as you can see, and then this internal part is further away. So it needs to have at least two different depths, and try to find something simple. And then we're going to use this to do some perspective drawing. Now you can actually see right here that I've drawn sort of this shape, and it's not to scale or anything like that, because at the first step of this, I just want you to sketch out and measure and to write in those measurements. So this is a lot like our orthographic drawing. We're not worrying about perspective or anything like that. We're just going to draw the shape and take its measurements. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to take out a tape measure here, and I'm going to measure all the measurements that matter. So I'm going to measure this direction, and we'll say that that is 7 inches, and then this direction, and that is roughly 5 inches, pretty close. I'll go back into my drawing and I'll mark down this dimension. Okay, and now I'm going to go back and I'm going to measure the internals. So I want to measure this dimension, which it looks like this is about 3/8 of an inch. So that should still be also this dimension. Yeah, it looks like it's 3/8 of an inch. Which should make this about 6 1/4. So these will be 3/4 of an inch smaller. So I'm going to write those down. Okay, so now I've drawn the basic dimension of this, but in order to do some sort of perspective drawing, I need to know how much deeper this is in comparison to the front part and how deep that is. So I actually need to gather information from other perspectives. So looking from this side, and then also because it's a rectangle, I need to also look at this side because those are going to be different. So a lot of these measurements are actually going to still be the same. Like this distance is still going to be 7 inches. This distance is still going to be 5 inches. This distance is going to be 3/8 of an inch on both sides, which means that this distance is also going to be 4 1/4, and so on. Really, the only dimension I don't know is how deep it is. And so I'm going to take a tape measure and measure its depth. So I'm going to get in here. Let's see if I can get you to see that. So when I measure it this way, I get, it looks like, if I were to be super precise about it, it'd be 15/16. But for the sake of simplicity for this, it's totally okay for us to do some rounding. 16ths might be a little bit tough to work with. So let's just do an inch just for the practice of it, because it was really close to an inch. So I'm going to make this dimension here into 1 inch, which also means that this depth is 1 inch. Okay. And there we go. There's our first step, to just take all the information down, to write some sketches about what the dimensions are when we're facing it, and then just how deep things are when we look at it from the side perspective, when we look at depth. In the next video, we'll take a look at what happens when you have a perspective when looking at a shape like this.